Chapter 25, Foreign Trade, Infrastructure Development and Factors of Production. This chapter explains India's foreign trade and its pattern and structure. Also focuses on infrastructure development and reforms initiated in India's land, labor, and capital markets. Foreign trade or international trade implies trade between two or more nations. Even in ancient times, when there were few means of transport, merchants from one country used to exchange goods with those from other countries. In this trade, buyer and sellers belong to different countries. If goods are purchased from another country, it is referred to as imports, and when goods are sold to another country, then it is referred to as exports. According to Stephen, trade that is done by crossing the border of a country is called foreign trade. According to Anatole Marad, international trade is a trade between nations. Foreign trade is divided into visible and invisible trade, which are as follows. Visible trade is a trade in goods, means physical things that you can touch and weigh. Invisible trade is a trade in service like tourism and banking. Foreign trade has got an important place in the economic development of a country. Need of foreign trade. To meet the need of growing population, centrally every country has limited resources, so a country has to purchase goods and services from other countries to fulfill the needs of its ever growing population. Unequal distribution of natural resources are not equally distributed among nations. Some countries may have vast coal deposit while another may be rich in iron deposits. However, all the resources are required by nations, so trade is only the source to fulfill the demand of resources of different nations. Competition to make profit in the era of globalization. Today's period is the era of globalization. Foreign trade being countries closer. It facilitates transfer of technology and other assistance from developed countries to developing countries. By this, developing countries also have the opportunities of of becoming developed nations. Foreign trade in India, since ages, has experienced through uh, experience and thriving international trade. India's participation in foreign trade has continuously improved after 1980. Foreign trade is India includes all imports and exports to and from India. At the level of central government, it is administered by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. As per the current ranking, India is the 17th largest exporter and 11th largest importer of foreign trade. Direction of foreign trade. Direction of foreign trade means the countries to which India exports its goods and the countries from which it imports. Prior to our independence, when India was under British rule, much of our trade was done with British. After independence, new trade relationships were established. The European Union is India's largest trading partner group. From a trade group perspective, ASEAN is the next important group in trading. India's main import partners are China 16.4%, USA 5.7%, United Arab Emirates 5.5%, Saudi Arabia 5.1%, and Switzerland 4.2%. India's main export partners are United Arab Emirates 11.46%, USA 15.75%, Singapore 3.16%, and China 3.9%. According to Economic Survey 2018 to 19, among India's trading partners, the top 5 countries with which India has negative bilateral trade balance are China, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and South Korea, while the top 5 countries with which it has surplus trade balance are USA, UAE, Bangladesh, Nepal, and UK. India has the highest trade deficit with China. India is also making efforts to increase its exports to other countries also. The countries which form an important part of India's foreign trade can be classified in the following manner. Organization for Economic Development Cooperation. This includes countries like European Union, EU, United States of America, USA, Japan, Canada, etc. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. OPEC includes countries like Kuwait, Iran, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, UAE, and Indonesia. Eastern Europe. Countries of East Europe like are erstwhile USSR, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, East Germany, and Czechoslovakia are included in this group. Developing nations. This includes countries like Africa, Asian, Latin America, Caribbean, etc. Additional nations. The fifth group is that of other nations. India's foreign trade structure. The structure of India's foreign trade implies the goods and services that are exported and imported. Presently, the percentage of tea, jute, coffee, etc. has fallen in India's export, while that of chemical, leathers, gems, and jewelry and engineering goods have increased. Major imports of India. Imports are divided as follows: goods imported by India in abundance, non ferrous metals. Metals except iron are called non-ferrous metals. These are copper, lead, zinc, tin. These metals are imported from USA, Brazil, and Malaysia. Iron and steel. India imports steel every year in huge amount. It is imported from UK, Italy, USA, and France. Edible oils. India imports edible and oil seeds in large quantity from some countries like Canada and USA. Petroleum products. India imports 35% of its petroleum requirements from foreign countries. Petroleum mainly comes from Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. Goods imported by India in non abundance. Food grains. After independence, India faced acute shortage of food grains, so food grains were imported from America, Canada, Burma, Australia, and Argentina. Machinery. To fulfill the requirements of industrialization, India imports machines on a large scale. These are imported from England, Germany, Japan, America, and Russia. Chemical fertilizers. To increase the productivity of lands, more fertilizers are used. India imports large quantity of chemical fertilizers from Russia, USA, and European Union. Transport equipment. Efficient means of transport are quite essential for economic development. So, motor vehicles, ships, aeroplanes, etc. are imported from Britain, Germany, USA, Italy, and Japan. Precious stones such as ruby, sapphire, etc. are imported from America, Belgium, and South Africa, etc. Cashew nuts. India imports cashew nuts, and after processing they are exported. Plastic is imported from USA, UK, and Japan. Paper. India imports paper from Yugoslavia and Sweden. Wool. India imports wool from New Zealand and Australia. Major exports of India. Before independence or on the eve of independence, India exported cloth, leather, iron, tea, jute, and spices, etc. to foreign countries. Now, India also exports chemicals products, ready-made garments, gems, processed foods, machines, engineering goods, and handicrafts, etc. to many foreign countries. The following are the main categories of India's exports related to agriculture products. To tea, India occupies first position in the export of tea. Iran, Britain, UAE, Canada, Egypt, and Japan, etc. are its main buyers. Tobacco. India exports tobacco to Japan, Russia, UK, and Nepal. Spices. Various spices like black pepper, cardamom, and chilies are exported to Italy, Japan, Russia, UK, and Germany. Coffee. India exports coffee to Italy, USA, and Yugoslavia. Metallic ores. India exports ores like manganese, mica, and iron to Japan, UAE, etc. Related to manufacturing products, apparels, and cloth. India exports cotton cloth and apparels to many foreign countries. Main buyers and Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Saudi, Sudan, Australia, Eastern Africa, etc. Leather and leather products. India exports leather shoes and leather products to other countries. The main buyers are Germany, UK, France, USA, and Russia. Jute products. Jute products are exported to Japan, USA, Russia, Belgium, Britain, and Canada. Gems and jewelry. Gems are exported to countries like Japan, Belgium, Hong Kong, and USA. Engineering goods. India exports engineering goods to Saudi Arabia, Burma, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, etc. Computers and softwares. Computers and softwares are exported in countries like USA, Canada, Kuwait, Japan, Germany, and Sri Lanka. Handicrafts. Handicrafts made of cottage and small scale industries are exported to Arab countries, USA, and Germany. Main features of India's foreign trade. Change in composition of exports after independence. There was change in the composition of India's export trade. Before independence, India used to export agricultural products and raw materials. Now, various types of finished products have been added to the number of exports commodities. Change in the composition of imports. India exported consumer goods in medicines, textiles, motor vehicles, and electrical goods before independence. After independence, it imports fertilizers, petroleum, steel, machines, industrial raw materials, edible oils, and unfinished diamonds. Trade through sea route. India's foreign trade takes place mainly through sea route. India has very little trade relations with neighboring countries like Nepal, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka, etc. Independent trade. Before independence, Indian foreign trade was dependent on foreign shipping, insurance, and banking companies. After independence, cargo ships are being built in India. Banks and insurance companies have started taking interest in foreign trade. So now India's foreign trade has become independent. India's foreign trade results and increase in value. The value and volume of imports and exports increased manifold. Into 1950 to 1951, imports were 608 crore and exports were 606 crore. So total value was 1214 crore. In 2018 to 19, value of exports was USD 535 billion and of imports was USD 631 million billion. Balance of payments BOP. It is a systematic record of all economic transactions between the residents of a country and the rest of the world in a given period of time, usually 1 year. Balance of payments includes not only the value of goods exported and imported, visible items, but invisible items and capital transactions are also recorded. According to Kindleberger, the balance of payments of a country is a systematic record of all economic transactions between the residents of the reporting country and residents of foreign countries during a given period of time. Accounts of BOP. Current account of BOP. The current account records exports and imports in goods and services and transfer payments. In other words, under current account of the BOP, transactions are classified into merchandise, exports and imports, and invisible. Capital account of BOP. Under capital account, capital inflows can be classified by instrument, debit or equality, and maturity, short or long term. The main components of capital account include foreign investment loans and banking capital. The capital account records all international purchase and sales of assets such as money, stocks, bonds, etc. Balance of trade BOT. The difference between a nation's imports and exports of goods and services is known as balance of trade. It is the most important element of the current account in balance of payment BOP. Types of BOT. Favorable trade balance. It exports are more than imports. BOT is favorable. Most countries try to create trade policies that encourage a trade surplus. Nations prefer to sell more products and receive more capital for their residents. It translates into a higher standard of living. Favorable BOT equal to exports of goods greater than imports of goods. Unfavorable trade balance. It imports are more than exports. BOT is unfavorable as a rule. Countries with trade deficits exports raw materials and imports a lot of consumer products. Unfavorable BOT equal to exports of goods less than imports of goods. Balance of trade. Balance trade balance. Total of payments or receipts are required to be necessarily equal under this criteria. So if exports are equal to imports, then it is said to be a balanced trade balance. Equilibrium BOT is equal to exports of goods equal to imports of goods. Reasons of adverse balance of payments in India. Import of machines. Due to industrialization, more costlier machines are imported into India. It is one of the important reason of adverse balance of payments in India. Import of war materials. India purchases costly weapons from abroad to protect the country. It is another important reason of adverse balance of payments in India. Decrease in exports. Demand for tea, oilseeds, cast iron, etc., has decreased in foreign countries. Defines in foreign and domestic price. The cost of some items is cheap in comparison to India, so the demand of that particular product decreases. Increase in price of petrol. It is a major reason of adverse balance of payments in India. Rate of petrol has increased many times, leading to an increase in India's import bill. Other regions, Gulf War, disintegration of Soviet Union, etc., are the other regions of adverse balance of payments in India. Measures to correct disequilibrium in BOP. There are many measures to convert the unfavorable BOP into favorable BOP or correct disequilibrium in BOP account. The important ones are listed as follows. Export promotion. It is the first and main features through which countries can reduce their deficit of BOP account permanently. Exports should be promoted by granting many incentive to the producers and exporters. Duties on exports should be abolished. The industries engaged in producing goods with a view to export them should be provided with raw materials at a subsidized cost. Raising agricultural production to reduce imports of food grains, agricultural production had to be increased. The government of India had laid due emphasis on agriculture in all the 5 year plans except in the second plan. As a result, the agricultural sector of India experienced green revolution in the early 1970s as a record in output of food grains. Encouraging foreign investment. It is also a very important measure to correct the disequilibrium of BOP account that promoted the foreign industries and multinational companies to start their business in India. Trade agreement. Many countries have started to create agreement between them for exporting and importing of goods or movement of foreign currencies to maintain their equilibrium of BOP accounts. India also made agreement with many countries under provision of GATT attract foreign tourists. Government of private sectors can also popularize the tourist places in the country to collect more foreign exchanges. Reducing inflation. Inflation always encourages imports and discourages exports. So it is required to reduce the prices of domestic goods for promoting exports and reducing imports by controlling inflation. Devaluation of domestic currency. It means fall in the external value of domestic currency in terms of a unit of foreign currency, which make domestic goods cheaper for foreigners. So the government may adapt to devalue its currency to increase exports and correct disequilibrium in BOP. Restrictions on imports. Restrictions on imports are also a way through which disequilibrium can be corrected. Import substitution. Import substitution policy has also been in working for a long time. It means producing substitutes of imported commodities by promoting domestic production of such goods. This policy has enabled the country to save a considerable amount of foreign exchange. Advantages of import substitution. Reduction in import bills. The import substitution approach substitutes externally produced goods and services, especially basic necessities such as energy, food, and water, with locally produced ones. Therefore, the cost of import bills is reduced. Industrialization and employment promotion. It allows the developing economy to avoid import duties and generate employment opportunities for the local people. It is the main reason of industrialization. Solve the problem of foreign exchange. Foreign currency is saved by pursuing this policy. Self confidence increases. It allows an economy to be completely self reliable instead of importing products and services. The economy stresses on manufacturing such goods and services themselves. Flow of foreign capital. When an individual or a company invest in the capital or assets of a company in another country, then it is referred to as foreign investment. The amount so invested is known as flow of capital. Types of foreign investment. Foreign direct investment, FDI. It refers to direct investment in the productive capacities of a country by someone from outside the country. Such an investment can be in the form of setting up a new plant or through purchase of shares of a company, where the shareholding gives the foreign entity control over the business of the company. A foreign company can set up its business in India in two ways: by setting up a company under the Companies Act, or by setting up an unincorporated entity like liaison office, project office, or branch office. The government of India has amended FDI inflow in 2014 and increased foreign investment limit from has 26% to 49% in insurance sector. It also launched Make in India initiative in September 2014, under which FDI policy for 25 sectors was liberalized further. The key changes in FDI limits: sectors activity, percentage of FDI equity, entry route. Defense sector 100%, FIPB route 49% at present, telecom services 100%, automatic up to 49%, government route beyond 49% and up to 100%. Tea plantation 100%, automatic up to 49%, government route beyond 49% up to 100%. Asset reconstruction company 100%, automatic up to 49%, government route beyond 49% up to 100%. Petroleum and natural gas 49%, automatic route or commodity exchange 49%, automatic route. Power exchanges 49%, automatic route. Stock exchanges, clearing or corporations 49%, automatic route. Hedge information companies 74%, automatic route or courier services 100% automatic route. Sectors activity: single brand product, retail trading, percentage of FDI equity 100%, rate entry route, automatic up to 49%, government route beyond 49% up to 100%, or insurance sector 49%, FIPB route. The CCEA on 24 December 2014, 49% FDI insurance. Pharmaceuticals 100% automatic route, animal husbandry 100% automatic route, food items 100% automatic route, e-commerce 100% automatic route. Sector which are open to FDI: most sectors are at least partially open to FDI, subject to a cap and specific conditions. There are two entry routes for FDI in India. In sectors where FDI is allowed, up to 100% FDI enters under the automatic route, subject to sectoral regulations and other conditions. In this instance, no approval is required from the Reserve Bank of India (RBI) or the government. However, the investment must be notified to the RBI's regional office within 30 days. In sectors where FDI is allowed under the government route, which is a prior approval from the Foreign Investment Promotion Board (FIPB) is required. FIPB recommendations must be cleared by the Ministry of Finance for FDI proposals. FDI proposals below the below or equivalent to 50 billion, and by the Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs for FDI proposals of more than 50 billions. FIPB is abolished. The Union Cabinet has approved the abolition of 25-year-old FIPB. As a henceforth, concerned ministers will be responsible for direct approval of foreign investment proposals. The decision falls in line with Finance Minister Arun Jaitley proposal to scrap FIPB 16 to 17 Union Budget. FIPB was constituted in the mid 19th under the Prime Minister's office following economic liberalization. Rationale behind this move is that over 90% of the FDI inflows in value term enters through automatic route. The government expects that Scrapping of FIPV would help in ease of doing business. At present, only 11 sectors, including defense and retail trading, need government approval for foreign direct investment (FDI). Types of FDI: horizontal FDI. In this case, the business conducts the same activities but in a foreign country. For example, Pizza Hut of opening restaurants in China would be considered at horizontal FDI. Vertical FDI: a business expands into a foreign country by moving to a different level of the supply chain. In other words, a firm conducts defined activities abroad, but these activities are still related to the main business. For example, Pizza Hut and could purchase a large scale farm in Bangladesh to produce tomatoes for their restaurants. There are two types of vertical FDI. The first type of foreign investment is called forward vertical FDI, in which investment is made in such companies which take one nearer to the customers. For example, a car manufacturer in Australia might invest in a car dealer company of India to prepare a market for its cars. The second type of the foreign direct investment includes backward vertical FDI, in which an industry abroad invests in a company which manufactures raw materials for its products. For example, a car manufacturer in Australia might invest in a company in India which manufactures tires. Conglomerate FDI: a business acquires an unrelated business in a foreign country. This is uncommon as it requires overcoming two barriers to entry: entering a foreign industry, entering a new industry or market. An example of this would be if Bimal Group, which is based in the India, acquired a food line in France. Platform FDI: business expand into a foreign country, but the output from the foreign operations exported to the third country. This is also referred to as the export platform FDI. If platform FDI commonly happens in low cost locations inside free trade areas. For example, in Maruti purchased manufacturing plants in Iran with the primary purpose of exporting cars to other Gulf countries. Greenfield entry, which in economics, greenfield investment (GI) refers to a type of foreign direct investment (FDI) where company established operations in a foreign country. In a greenfield investment, the company constructs new facilities, sales, office, manufacturing facilities, etc. Cross border from the grouping ground up. Foreign takeover: it is a situation in which a company gets control of another company. This control can be either by takeover of other companies or merger of companies. Foreign institutional investment (FII). A foreign institutional investors is one which is registered in a country outside the one which it is investing in India. It is used to refer to companies which invest in the country's financial markets. In 2013, India accepted the internationally laid down in definition of FII to remove the ambiguity between FII and FDI. Now, when an investor has a stake of less than 10% in a company, it will be treated as FII, and where investors has a stake of more than 10%, it will be treated as FDI. FIIs may invest in securities in both the primary and secondary market in shares, debentures, and warrants or of listed or unlisted companies. Some of the entities eligible to be treated as FII in India are pensions funds, mutual funds, banks, investment trusts, sovereign wealth funds, foreign central banks, etc. FII can invest in securities in the primary and secondary markets, dated government securities, commercial paper, derivatives, units of schemes floated by domestic mutual funds, including UTI, Indian Depository Receipts, and security receipts. Methods of FII. FII can invest through a registered broker or recognized Indian stock exchange. They can purchase shares or convertible debentures either through private placement or through offer for sale. FII can also invest through a sub account, person outside India on whose behalf investments are proposed to be made. FII can also issue offshore derivatives instruments ODIs to persons who are regulated by an appropriate foreign regulatory authority and after compliance with KYC norms. Large amount of FII investment into India comes through participatory notes. FDI vs FII. FDI is considered to be long term and stable investment, whereas FII is considered as not hot money. It can move out quickly during adverse circumstances, leading to instability and via volatility in the exchange rate and the stock market. Since FDI represents ownership, it leads to the inflow of better technology management practices, etc. While FII is generally only interested in short-term gains. FII is have also been influencing the incorporation of better technology and management in the companies in which they hold shares. Important roles of foreign investment. It leads to economic development by facilitating the development of basic infrastructure. It leads to increase in the quantum of international trade and inflow of foreign exchange in the country. It facilitates job creation and helps to solve the problem of unemployment in the country. It helps in transferring technology from developed nations to developed and underdeveloped countries. This further helps in development of human capital. When foreign companies establish their business, then they have to pay a number of taxes such as excise duty, corporate tax, etc. This increased tax receipts which can then be used to fund developmental projects. It increases the level of output in the country, leading to an increase in the national income of the country. Limitations of foreign investment. It poses a threat to domestic industries. It harms the economic structure of the country by making it dependent on other countries. It leads to regional imbalances. It leads to centralization of economic power. It negatively affect the foreign exchange rates. Foreign Trade Policy (FTP). Union Commerce Minister, Government of India announces integrated foreign trade policy, also called EXIM policy, in every 5 years. Foreign trade policy is formulated and implemented mainly by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, along with other concerned ministers and agencies, including the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Reserve Bank of India. India considers FTP as an instrument to attain its overall economic policy objectives of growth, industrial development, and self-sufficiency. However, India also uses FTP to attain short-term goals such as containing inflation. The mandate of the Department of Commerce at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry is to formulate India's international trade and commercial policy and implement it. New Foreign Trade Policy 2015 to 20. The Foreign Trade Policy 2015 to 20 was announced by the Minister of Commerce and Industry Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st April 2015. The FTP has been announced in the backdrop of several measures initiated by the Government of India, such as Make in India, Digital India, and Skill India, among others. The focus of the new policy is to support both the manufacturing and services sectors with a special emphasis on improving the ease of doing business. Features of the new foreign trade policy 2015 to 20. India to be made a significant participant in the world trade by 2020. Merchandise exports from India scheme MEIS is to promote specific services for specific markets. FTP would reduce export obligations by 25% and give boost to domestic manufacturing. FTP benefits from both MEIS and service exports from India scheme. India scheme ACIS is and will be extended to units located in ACZS. Industrial production to be supported in major markets at rates ranging from 22% to 3.5%. Branding campaigns planned to promote exports in sector where India has traditional strength. Business services, hotels and restaurants to get rewards. Scripts under ACIS at 3% and other specified services at 5%. Debits against scripts would be eligible for Central Value Added Tax (CENVAT). credit or drawback also. The criteria for export performance for recognition of status holder have been changed from rupee to US dollar earnings. New schemes under FTP 2015 to 20. FTP 2015-20 introduces two new schemes, namely merchandise exports from India scheme MEIS and service exports from India scheme ACIS. Merchandise exports from India scheme MEIS now five defined earlier schemes: focus product scheme, market linked focus product skill, focus market scheme, agri infrastructure incentives scheme, and ABKGUY have been merged into a single scheme, namely Merchandise Export from India Scheme MEIS. Incentives under this scheme are available to export or notified goods to notified markets at notified rates. In order to avail this benefit, all exports are advised to declare on shipping bills from 1st June 2015 onwards mandatorily, as we intend to claim rewards under MEIS. Service exports from India scheme ACIS served from India scheme SFIS has been replaced with service exports from India scheme ACIS. Now all service providers located in India and earning foreign exchange, regardless of the constitution or profile of the service provider who is exporting notified service, would be eligible for the benefits at the rate of 3% or 5% of net foreign exchange earnings. The reward issued as duty credit script under this scheme, and goods imported by using this script will be freely transferable and usable for all types of goods services for payment of custom duty, excise duty, and services tax. Incentives MEIS and ACIS now are available to units located in ACZS also. Infrastructure and its development. Infrastructure refers to such core elements of economic and social change which serve as a support system to the production activity in the economy. Development of infrastructure is a sine quota or non of economic development. If proper attention is not paid to the development of infrastructure, it is likely to act as a severe constraint on the economic development process of the country. The Rakesh Mohan Committee on Infrastructure, titled The Indian Infrastructure Report 1996, listed electricity, gas, water supply, telecom, roads, industrial parks, railways, ports, airports, urban infrastructure, and storage as infrastructure sector. Types of infrastructure: economic, physical infrastructure. It refers to all such elements of economic changes like power, transport, and communication, which serve as a foundation for the process of economic growth. In the absence of economic physical infrastructure, any efficient system of economic growth would remain a distinct possibility. Social infrastructure. It refers to the core elements of social changes like schools, colleges, hospitals, and nursing homes, which serve as a foundation for the process of social development of a country. Social development focuses on human resources development, implying the development of skilled personnel as well as healthy and efficient human beings. Infrastructure in 12th plan. The total investment in the infrastructure sector during the 12th five-year plan estimated at 56.3 lakh crore, approx US $1 trillion, will be nearly double that made during the 11th five-year plan. This step up in investment will be feasible primarily because of enlarged private sector participation that is envisaged, and unbundling of the infrastructure projects, public-private partnership (PPP), and more transparent regulatory merchant mechanisms have induced private investors to increase their participation in infrastructure sectors. Their share in for infrastructure investment increased from 22% in 10 5-year plan to 35% in the 11th plan, and is expected to be about 48 during the 12th five-year plan. More than half of the resources required in infrastructure would need to come from the public sector, from the government and their portals. This would require not only the creation of the fiscal space but also use of a rational pricing policy. Importance of infrastructure. Infrastructure make it easy to conduct development activities in planned way. The activities can be easily extended to other sectors to meet a goal on time. Public participation increases development activities. It helps to conduct the development work effectively. Infrastructure development creates a base for development and construction activities due to which the speed of development increases. Infrastructure assists to extend the development activities to various parts of countries. Show the project people of remote parts of the country can benefit from the development of infrastructure. Development of infrastructure related to human resources, physical, social, and economic aspects are interrelated with one another. The integrated development of these aspects prepares the foundation for other development activities. Development of infrastructure increases people's efficiency. Public private partnership in infrastructure. The Planning Commission of India, now NITI, Niti Aayog, has defined PPP in a generic term. The PPP is a mode of implementing government program scheme in partnership with the private sector. It provides an opportunity for private sector participation in financing, designing, construction, operation, and maintenance of public sector program and projects. PPPs are expected to augment resource availability as well as improve efficiency of infrastructure services delivery. Time and cost overrun in construction of PPP projects are also expected to be lower compared to traditional public procurement. The government has also been emphasizing the need to explore the scope of a PPP is in the development of the social sectors like health and education. Some of the major PPP projects undertaken thus so far are Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Bengaluru airports for ultra mega power projects, container terminals at Mumbai, Chennai, and Tuticorin ports, etc. Major schemes of infrastructure in India. Udan scheme. The Udan RCS regional connectivity scheme was launched in October 2016. The PM Narendra Modi has launched the Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik Udan scheme from Javrati and airport on the outskirts of Simla on 27th April 2017. As per the modalities of the scheme, air first for a 1 hour journey of 500 km has been kept at an all-inclusive charge of 2,500. The scheme has been launched to provide connectivity to unserved and underserved airports of the country through revival of existing air-served airports of the country through revival of existing air strips and airports. First flight under the scheme was on the route of Simla to Delhi. Ujjwala Yojana. It was launched by Union Minister for State IC for Power, Coal and Renewable Energy Piyush Goyal in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh on 13th April 2016. The Ujjwala scheme is being implemented by Energy Efficiency Services Limited EESL, a joint venture of PSUS under the Union Ministry of Power. The scheme will help to reduce electricity bill of consumers, contribute to the energy security of India, and also help in environment protection. The main motive of this policy is energy efficiency in the country. Consumers can buy the bulb from distributors by showing any identification card. Uday scheme. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, approved the Ujjal Discom Assurance Yojana Uday scheme on 5th November 2015 that aimed at bailing out David Reed state-run power distribution companies, discoms. According to this scheme, states can take over by March 2016 75% of the discoms, so David's up to September 2015 by the issuing special bonds at a price determined by the Reserve Bank at G sector rates plus 5%. Amrut for 500 cities. The Narendra Modi government has renewed the 10 years old Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission JNNURM in June 2015. The renewal scheme is known as Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation Amrut for 500 tires and 2 and the tier 3 cities will also be launched along with smart city project for Amrut. States have been asked to recommend cities which can be included under this scheme. Uttar Pradesh leads the pick as it can nominate 64 cities under this project. Here is the breakdown for defined states. Tamil Nadu 33, Maharashtra 37, Gujarat 31, Karnataka 21, Andhra Pradesh 31, Rajasthan 30, West Bengal 28, Bihar 27, Odisha 19, Haryana 19, or Kerala 18, Punjab 17, Telangana 15, and Chhattisgarh 10. Under this scheme, central government will provide 30% of the overall cost if the city has a population of more than 10 lakh and 50% if under 10 lakh. 100 smart cities. Government of India has announced an ambitious 100 smart cities program on 25th June 2015. Based on the population and area, a fixed number has been allocated for each state. Hence, Uttar Pradesh, the most populated state, will get 13 smart cities. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu will receive 12 smart cities. Maharashtra will get 10 cities, while Karnataka and Gujarat will get 6. Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, and Rajasthan have been allocated 4 smart cities. Chhattisgarh and Punjab, 3 each, and Jammu and Kashmir, Odisha, Haryana, Telangana, and Kerala will get 2 smart cities each. Jharkhand, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Goa, Arunachal Pradesh, and Chandigarh, along with national capital New Delhi, will get 1 smart city each. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Housing for All by 2022. A new integrated national housing mission launched by merging UPA flagship scheme and Rajiv Awas Yojana as the Housing for All by 2022 scheme, wherein more than 2 crores homes would be built across all the urban locations in the next 7 years. The committee recommended to increase interest subvention to 6.50% on housing loan for economically weaker sections of society. Women, SC, STs, and people from economically weaker sections (EWS) would be the main beneficiaries of this urban housing project. There are 4 components to the National Urban Housing Mission redevelopment plan of slums. Under this, with the participation of private developers using lands as a resource component, every beneficiary would be providing a central grant of 1 lakh on an average. Affordable housing through credit linked subsidy scheme. Under this, an interest subsidy of 6.50% on each housing loan to economically weaker sections (EWS) and low income groups (LIG) beneficiaries would be provided by the central government. Affordable housing in partnership with private and public sectors. Under this, the central assistance of 1,550 lakh to each beneficiaries would be provided to promote housing stock for urban poor with the involvement of private and public sectors. Provide 35% of houses of the projects are proposed to be are marked for EWS category. Subsidy for individual beneficiary led construction or enhancement of houses. Under this, a central assistance of 1.50 lakh would be provided to each eligible urban poor beneficiary to enable him build his own house or undertake improvement to existing houses. Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana Hriday. Union government has launched a Hriday City Development and Augmentation Yojana Hriday scheme to preserve and rejuvenate the rich cultural heritage of the country. Union government ambitious 500 crore Hriday project was launched by Urban Development Minister Bankaya Naidu in New Delhi. In the initial phase, 12 heritage cities have been identified which will be rejuvenated and developed under Hriday. The 12 cities are Amritsar, Varanasi, Gaya, Puri, Ajmer, Mathura, Dwarka, Badami, Belangkani, Kanchipuram, Warangal, and Amravati. Reforms in land reform and capital markets. Reforms in labor, capital, and labor and capital markets. Land, labor, and capital are the important factors of production. India had been plagued by many problems in these sectors and therefore had introduced many reforms so as to be able to trade on the path to development. Land reforms with the twin objective of achieving social equity and ensuring economic growth. The land reforms programs was built around 3 major issues, which are as follows: abolition of intermediaries, settlement and regulation of tenancy, regulation of size of holdings. Objective of land reform: it aims at the redistribution of land ownership in favor of the cultivating class so as to make them feel themselves a part of the rural life. Regulation and rationalization of rent, improving the size of farms and providing security of tenure. in order to transfer in traditional agriculture and raise cultivators to new height. Two main objectives of land reform are to change the agrarian structure in a way as not to abstract but promote the growth of agriculture, and to replace the old land system by new one free from the exploitative features which characterized the former. Methods of land reform. The land reforms includes the following steps taken by the government. The abolition of intermediaries. The zamindari system was abolished. Ownership rights were passed to the actual tiller of land. This helped to curb the exploitation of the actual tiller, the farmer at the hands of the owner. The zamindar regulation of rent to regulate and to put an end to excessive extortions from the cultivators in the form of rent. Maximum selling with regard to rent was fixed. Generally, these are subject to a maximum limit of one fourth to one fifth of the crop value. Consolidation of holding. To overcome the problem of fragmented holding, steps were taken for the consolidation of holding. By the year 2004, more than 1,633 lakh hectares of land was brought under consolidated holdings. So now farmers can enjoy a full consolidated holdings at one place instead of several small holdings scattered at defined places. Ceiling on land holding. A ceiling or a maximum limit was imposed on the land holdings belonging to a particular family to promote equitable distribution of land holdings. Labor reforms. Labor reforms are of great importance as the laws enacted in the labor market aims at regulating the market, protecting employment and ensuring social security of workers. Labor reforms essentially mean taking steps in increasing production, productivity, and employment opportunities in the economy in such a manner that the interest of the workers are not compromised. Need of labor laws. Labor protection legislation is one of the basic feature of welfare state and aims at providing social justice. The main aims of such laws should be to create more safer and rewarding jobs for the labor. This includes standards of minimum wage, working conditions, overtime controls, right against unjustified retracement, strengthening of labor unions, right of workers to compensation in case of accident at workplace, post retirement benefits, personal progress, skill development, social security, and dignified and respectful job, etc. Major problems of labor in India. Labor in India is suffering from surplus labor force. Another major problem of labor in India is that there is a growing number of unskilled laborers in the country. Labor in India is also suffering from some imperfections such as lack of inadequate information regarding job, lack of suitable agency for the proper utilization of labor force, child labor practices, lack of proper manpower planning, etc. Work culture among the Indian labor force is not at all good. Labor in India is also facing the problem of militant unionism. Government steps under labor laws. Apprenticeship Act. In apprenticeship system, trade workers, engineers, both diploma holders and graduates who attain plus two past vocational students need to undergo training in industry to enhance their skill. On completion of this, they become regular workers. Factories Act. Overtime national normal hours increases, better working conditions, provision for overnight work for women provided there is adequate safeguards and transport facility. Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay Swarnamev Jayanti कार्यक्रम. Objective of this scheme is to create a conducive environment for industrial development and doing business with ease, and also expanding government support to impart skill training for workers. Inspector Raj. A transparent labor inspection scheme for random section selection for union for inspection would end undue harassment of the inspector Raj while ensuring better compliance. Apprentice Utsahan Yojana. The Apprentice Protsahan Yojana and effective implementation of revamped Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana (RSBY) for labor in the unorganized sector were also launched. So, Swarnamev Jayanti skill empowerment of youth would be created through initiative under Swarnamev Jayanti. It is one of the most important elements of the Make in India vision and aims to create an opportunity for India to meet the global requirement of skilled labor workforce in the years ahead. Reforms in capital market. A capital market is a financial market in which long-term debit over a year or equity-backed securities are bought and sold. The 1991-92 securities scam prompted the government to increase the pace of reforms in the capital market. The government of India and SEBI has taken a number of measures in order to improve the working of the Indian stock exchange and to make it more progressive and vibrant. The major reforms undertaken in capital market of India are establishment of SEBI. The Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) was established in 1988. It got a legal status in 1992. The SEBI was primarily set up to regulate the activities of the merchant banks, to control the operations of mutual funds, to work as a promoter of the stock exchange activities, and to act as a regulatory authority of new issues activities of companies. Establishment of creditors rating agencies. Three creditors rating agencies which the credit rating the Information Services of India Limited (CSI) CRISIL 1988, in the Investment Information and Credit Rating Agency of India Limited (ICRA) 1991, and Credit Analysis and Research Limited (CRE) were set up in order to assess the financial health of defined financial institutions and agencies related to the stock market activities. Increasing merchant banking activities. Many Indian and foreign commercial banks have set up their merchant banking divisions in the last few years. Three divisions providing financial services such as underwriting facilities, issue organizing, consultancy services, etc. Rising electronic transactions due to technological development in the last few years. The physical transactions with more paperwork in reduced. Growing stock exchange. The number of various stock exchanges in India are increasing. Initially, the BSE was the main exchange, but now, after the setting up of the NAC and the OTCEI, stock exchanges have spread across the country. Investors protection. Under the purview of SEBI, the central government of India has set up the Investors Education and Protection Fund (IEPF) in 2001. It works in educating and guiding investors. Insurance sector reforms. Indian insurance sector has also witnessed massive reforms in last few years. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India (IRDAI) was set up in 2000. Commodity trading. Along with the trading of ordinary securities, the trading in commodities is also encouraged.